With this exercise, we are going to turn this data into a chart. It has us open our charts practice, which is already open for me. We will take the data, which is in, row 3, column A through column B, row 22. We will select that data, and it says then click on the Insert tab. You're going to click the Recommended Charts button, which happens to be under this Charts section. It's the one with the question mark. We'll click that. It gives us some recommended charts. It asks us to go through and click on the different ones. You'll see this one is called Funnel. This one is Clustered Bar. This one is Clustered Column. Our directions tell us to select the clustered bar, rather. So we will click that one. I'm going to move this out the way so I can see the rest of my instructions. Okay. So then it says, make sure that this is active. We're going to make sure that we're in our Chart Tools Design tab. And we want to go to the chart styles and look at switching that up. So as you click these different styles, you'll see your chart change. And I'm not sure what happened here. One more second while I get it back to the right place. Well, that is awfully strange. Sorry. We were able to choose, oh, there we go. So when you have it selected, you should have this chart tools and the design and format tabs available to you. So I'm going to click back on design because I really wanted to go through and show you how when you click on these, the design will change. But we'll select this one that has a darker background. And with that, from here, you can change, like maybe we don't like this blue color. We can click the little drop down arrow and we can change the color by selecting these different ones. So now our bar is red. I'm going to go with this kind of aqua blue. And now this is what our chart would look like. So that wraps up being able to put the data in a chart and then formatting that chart style. In this exercise, we're going to look at editing and adding text on the charts, modifying a chart, and choosing different types of charts, and then switching between rows and columns in source data. So for this practice, we open chart 2 practice, which has already been done. We are then going to click the bar chart. So here is our bar chart. We're going to click it. It says click the chart title and select the chart title and hit the delete key. So here's the chart title. We are now selecting the chart title and now clicking delete. And it wants us to type annual sales instead. Okay, so now we're going to move on to modifying the chart. It says click on the design tab and click the add chart element. So the chart has to be selected. We're clicking on the design tab, add chart element. Choose the axis titles option and add both vertical and horizontal axes. So let's see. Both horizontal and vertical. Okay, it says select the vertical axis title and type thousands. So here's our vertical one. Oops, I don't mean to move it. And we're really just trying to select it. And this is where we will type thousands. So it's letting us know that these numbers are according to the thousands. And then the horizontal one, it wants us to type annual. So we know that these are the annual sales numbers. We can then choose a different chart type if needed. We will also click the design tab, which is already selected, and then we will click change chart type. That happens to be over here in the type section. And so it says click each of the chart types to see different options. So you can go through here and you can see all kinds of different options, but it wants us to go to the column section and choose the stacked one. So here's a stacked column, and then we will click OK. And then it says on the design tab, using the change chart type button, change the chart back to the other one. So we'll go back, change it to a regular style clustered column here. And on the design tab, it says click the switch row column button. So we got to make sure this is selected again. And then here is the switch row column button. And so you can then, it changes the way that it looks a little bit so that the information is letting you know which section each of those are according to. Just another way to look at that chart. And that wraps up editing and adding text on charts, modifying the chart, and choosing a different chart type. For this, we're going to be creating a basic pivot table and inserting a pivot chart. The very first direction here is essentially having us go to the very end row of this spreadsheet, which would be row 139,129. You should be able just to press Control and N to get there. It's kind of a little shortcut. This computer that I'm working on right now, the shortcut does not work properly, so I'm not even going to try. Then once you've done that and you're at the very last row, you can press Control Home and it should bring you back to the top of your screen. So we're going to start on step 3, which is on the Insert tab. So on the Insert tab, we're going to click Recommended Pivot Tables button. Then we're going to scroll to the bottom and click Count of Scale Score by Proficiency Label. So once we click the Pivot Table button, we can go ahead and we'll see the different types of charts that they have. And we are wanting to go by proficiency level, which is this last one. And we will go ahead and click OK. So now it brings up a new sheet for us. And we also have this little wizard to the side. Okay. Now I do got to go back and forth between our data sheet and our regular sheet for some of these directions. So it says click OK and name the new sheet count. So this is our new sheet. We're going to rename it. So we'll right click, rename, spell count. And now that is correctly labeled. The pivot table field pane on the right side of your screen and the data appears on the worksheet. So that's that little wizard I was talking about. They're calling it a pivot table field pane. It says, notice the data for no score is blank. And it says this is because the count of the rows is based on the scale score, which is empty for unavailable scores. So if we go over here, it's referring to this no score being blank. So my concern is that my wizard or my pane that is usually over here has since disappeared. But now that we click back here where it says no score, now our pivot wizard or pane has showed up again. So I think really you just have to be in the chart and this will pop up. So now we're in good shape. We can continue on. Go back over to data here. It says, return to the count sheet and drag the grade field in the pivot table fields pane to the values section. So it's the grade field that we're dragging down to the values section. So you have these sections here like filter, columns, rows, and values. And what we do to drag this, we'll grab it, click it, and drag it, and we'll bring it down here to this values section. So now we have done that. And then it says drag the count of scale score from the values section into the worksheet to remove it. And it will say that you can now notice the no score row now counts each missing score. So we are going to take the scale score from the values section and put it into our chart. And you kind of have to scroll over them a little bit to see which one it is. So this is the count of scale score. So this is the one we're going to pull and drag into our worksheet. And now look, our no score, instead of it being blank, now has the number 1,231. It says drag the grade field to the columns area. You'll see each grade summarized. You should have a grade field in both the values and the columns field. So instead of dragging it from our values field, what we're going to do then is we're just going to come up here to grade again, and now we're going to add one to our columns field. So we actually have this in both sections. It says drag the test field to the filters area. So we got to find the test field. Here it is, to our filters area. And then it says click cell B1, or actually, I'm sorry, cell B1 currently shows all. And then it says click the filter drop down and choose math. So we'll go over here. So here's our B1, says all. We are going to click math and OK. So now it is just going to switch it for the math portion. On the filter button, click cell B1 and choose reading. Okay, so now we have it filtered for reading. And this pivot table is showing you the proficiency found in each grade level. So we're going to move on to the next section here. It says on the data worksheet, which this is our data one, it says it wants us to click cell A1. So A1, here we are. On the insert tab, click the pivot chart button and then choose Pivot Chart. So insert. Here's our Pivot Chart button. And then we're going to choose Pivot Chart again. It says the default location is for the new worksheet and click OK. So here's new worksheet. We're going to go ahead and click OK. It tells us that name the new worksheet Pivot Chart. So we'll rename this to Pivot Chart. Got it. It says drag the test field to the filters area. Okay, so the test field to the filters area. Drag the grade field to the values area. Drag grade again to the axis area. Drag proficiency level to the legend area. It says move the chart to the left edge of the worksheet below the data, and then resize the chart so that it is the same width as the data. So moving it to the left edge below the data, and we're resizing it. So come down here and then basically drag it. So essentially it's the same size. On the test drop-down arrow on the chart, choose Science and then click OK. So here's our test drop-down. We're going to just choose Science, click OK. It says, notice only 5th, 8th, and 10th grades are available because only those grades take the science test. So here we are, 5th, 8th, and 10th, so that is correct. Notice the pivot chart toolbar and the tabs that correspond to see all the changes that can be made to the pivot chart. So here is your pivot chart toolbar. And so if you click on these, analyze, design, format, those would be some of the changes that you can make to this particular chart. And that will wrap up, creating a pivot table and then also doing a pivot chart.